Hello, Miss Steele here. So this week we are going to be making a weaving because we're talking about weaving. So we're going to be making these rain cloud, rainy day weavings. So I'm going to set this example aside so we can make one together. What you want for this project is a large white piece of paper, a blue piece of paper. You want some glue, some scissors. If you have it, a ruler, something to color in with, and I'm going to be painting mine. So if you have paints, you can grab your paints. If you don't have paints, you can just color it in instead. So I'm going to move the stuff I don't need out of the way right now because the first thing we want to do is we want to make our storm cloud. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some blue and gray crowns because I'm going to use those to add in some details. So now that I have those, what I want to do is I want to draw my cloud. To draw my cloud, I draw a huge bumpy circle like that, and that can be my cloud. I want to add some details into my cloud. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to use my crown to add some swirly lines. And because I'm painting this and I'm using a water-based paint and crowns are made of wax, water cannot stick to wax. I'm going to add in some wavy lines. So wherever I put the crown, it will be harder for the paint to stick there. So I should still be able to see all of this detail even after. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go and just add some bumpy lines across here using this next color. So just adding some texture onto our cloud. It adds more visual interest. So it kind of gives the viewer of your artwork more to look at whenever you add in some more details. I'm going to consider that good. So what I want to do now is I want to grab my paints and my water cup, and I'm going to paint this blue. I might even add in a little bit of black if I want to make it a darker storm cloud. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to get my storm cloud all painted in using different blues, maybe a little bit of black. So once I get this painted in, I'm going to check in and then we're going to move on to our next step. All right, so I have my cloud all painted in and we want to find a safe place for this to dry before we use it again. So I am going to set this aside so I can find a safe place for it to dry. And while we're waiting for that to dry, we're going to move on to our next step. So what we want is our blue paper, and we want to turn it long ways. We do not want it turned this way. We want it with the longer side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my ruler, and if you don't have a ruler, you can just try to draw some straight lines. And I'm going to line it up the best I can, holding it down. And I'm going to draw some straight lines. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strips, I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to save this bigger strip because I'm going to need it at the end. So I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to cut these apart so I can have them ready to go. So what we need is some strips of blue paper, some thin strips. And if you don't have a ruler, you can just try to draw the straightest line you can. We're still practicing and still learning together, so it does not have to be perfect. So now I have these over here. What I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to draw 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to draw 5 U's. And then at the top of my U's, I'm actually going to draw a V coming out. So I drew my U's, and now I'm drawing some V's on the top. And now I'm going to cut these out. And what these are going to be is these are going to be raindrops. So we started by drawing a U, and then we drew a V at the top. So I'm going to get these all cut out. I'm going to wait for my cloud to dry, and then we will move on to our next step. All right, now that I have my cloud all drawn and painted, I want to cut it out. So I gave it a little bit to dry. And now I'm going to cut my cloud out so I can get it ready. The cloud is going to become our loom. A loom is something you weave into, and since we're talking about weavings, we cut those blue strips to weave, and we're going to weave it into our cloud. So once you have your cloud all cut out, there is one last step. So you want to keep your scissors ready. Once I have my cloud all the way cut out, what I'm going to do next is something a little crazy. I am going to take my cloud and I'm going to fold it in half. And once it's folded in half, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my crowns and I'm going to draw some straight lines on my cloud. Once I have these straight lines going through, I'm going to cut them. If you see, I didn't put it too close to the edge because we want to keep our cloud all together. Now I'm going to cut on these lines while it's still folded, and this is what's going to become our loom. So once I open it, you'll see there's all of these cut lines in here, and we're going to use these to weave in to our cloud. All right, now to weave, we go in an under-over pattern. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over and then lift it up to go under. Over, lift it up to go under. And then what you can do so it doesn't slip and slide out is I will flip it around and I'm going to glue the top of this just so it stays in here and it doesn't fall out while I'm doing my other weavings, because we have 5 we're going to weave. So I had a dot of glue, and now I can flip it back around. So if you look, I started over for this one, so I'm going to switch it up, and I'm going to go under for my next one. And then I'm going to go over, under, over, pick it up, under. And then I'm going to finish it with it being over for this one. I'm going to take my glue, a dot is a lot, and squish it down so it doesn't move whenever I'm working on my other ones. So I'm going to start a pattern here. I went over, then I went under, so I'm going to go over for my next one. And I'm going to follow that same pattern of going over, under, under. And then I'm going to flip it around, add a dot of glue, and squish it. And again, if you see, I went over and then under, over, so I'm going to start under and follow that same pattern. And it's going to look almost like a checkerboard if you're doing it the right way. So now I'm going to put in my last one, and I went over and then under, over and then under, so I'm going to go over again. And this is going to be my last weaving that I add in. I'm going to flip this over so I can glue down the back. And then if you remember, we cut out those raindrops. So I'm going to add a raindrop at the bottom of each of these. So adding just a dot of glue, and then I'm adding on my raindrop. And just like that, our rainy day cloud weaving is all done. I can't wait to see how yours come out. And I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Bye.